Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyana. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvāmanusandadhāmi Bhagavad-gīte Bhavadveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Partha. The ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O Goddess, showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters, O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. And in our reading of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the 14th Adhyaya, Gunatraya Vibhag Yoga, Sri Krishna just now completed telling us about what happens when each of these three gunas, the sattva, rajas and tamas, they are predominant over the other two. When they overpower the other two gunas, how a person behaves. With sattva in dominance, how a person behaves, rajas in dominance, how a person behaves. And last shlok that we read, the 13th shloka, he told us about the characteristics, the attitudes we can see in a person in whom the rajas is predominant. And these are all the unwanted negative signs and symptoms that appear in a person with dominant tamas. And what kind of symptoms these are? The aprakashaha, pravṛddhischa, pramadaha, moha evacha. The darkness, total darkness, ignorance. There is no spark of light at all. And pravṛddhicha, that laziness, that no inertia, no enthusiasm, total inertia. Sitting at one place, that's it. There is no intention of doing any activity, doing any work, getting into any action. That is pravṛddhicha. And also pramadaha, arrogance, that heedlessness, carelessness. What for? Nobody knows. But that heedlessness sets in with tamas in the dominance. There is no reason actually that fellow does not have a single positive attribute to feel arrogant, to feel heedless. But that is how these people, they start behaving when tamas is in predominance. And then moha, delusion is always there. They don't know what is right, what is wrong. They are all deluded. There is, first of all, there is no spark of knowledge. And under that darkness of ignorance, they are all deluded. They don't know what is right, what is wrong. They don't know what is real, what is unreal. So, this is how the people with tamasyetani jayante vibhrddhe kurunandana. Oh Kurunandana, oh best among the Kurus. This is how the tamasic people, this is how people behave when tamas is predominant in them. So that is a kind of a cautionary note Sri Krishna has given to us, that how to avoid getting into a situation of tamas becoming predominant over sattva and rajas. On the contrary, let the sattva be always dominant, followed by rajas, and keep the tamas at its lowest ebb. Keep the tamas at its lowest, keep it hidden. You cannot get rid of it, but we can keep it hidden for that matter. Let tamas not raise its head over rajas and sattva for that matter. So this is the great teaching Sri Krishna had given to us in the previous three shlokas, and now Sri Krishna is going to tell us that what happens of a person, what happens of a being when each of these gunas are dominant at the end, at the last stage, at the moment of death. What happens of such a person when sattva is dominant? What happens of such a person when the rajas is dominant? Now, he has told us what happens in a person when these gunas, each of these gunas are dominant during the living phase. During their living phase, right, when they're in their life, when they are dominant, how people start behaving in a different manner. Now, a same person at one point of time will exhibit all the symptoms of sattva in dominance. Highly knowledgeable, highly devout, emitting that enlightenment, that glow of that wonderful, serene, divine personality. The same person at other time we will see to be so much engrossed in activities, doing this, doing that, so much busy in acquiring the things and protecting the things that are in possession. And at times the same person we can see that same person in the most inert phase, for that matter, most jada phase in his or in her life. Now, while this is happening during the lifetime, what happens when each of these gunas they are dominant at the time of death? Now, Sri Krishna being a Jagat Guru, Sri Krishna being the wonderful supreme teacher, he also shows us the way that when a person dies, what happens when each of these gunas are dominant? What is hereafter? In Ihaloka, in this realm, in this realm, this is how these people will exhibit at the dominance of each of the traits, each of the qualities. Now, what happens when the same person, that same person says a final goodbye at the moment of death, whichever guna is dominant, what is going to be the hereafter in the paraloka? So let us see this 14th shloka where Sri Krishna is telling us about dominance of sattva at the time of death. Yadā sattve pravṛddhe tu pralayaṃ yāti dehabhṛt tadottamavidāṃlokān amalānpratipadyate. Yadā sattve prabuddhe is having become predominant. Yada, when the sattva becomes predominant, tu pralayaṃ, at the time of death. Verily, at the time of death. Tu is verily, certainly, but certainly at the time of death, when sattva is predominant, yāti dehabhṛt, when the embodied meets the death, when this embodied jiva decides to give up the body, it is the last moment. At that time, when the sattva is dominant, yada sattve pravṛddhe tu pralayaṃ yāti dehabhṛt. Dehabhṛt is this indweller, one who is dwelling inside this body, in this cage of flesh and bones. When that person, when that jivatman is leaving the body, at that time, if sattva is dominant, tadottamavidāṃlokān amalānpratipadyate. Tada uttamavidāṃlokān. That time, that moment, uttamavidāṃlokān. Uttamavidāṃ is knowers of the highest. Those that person, that knower of the highest, when the sattva is predominant, because sattva carries knowledge and enlightenment with it. So at the time of death, when sattva is dominant, naturally that dehabhṛt, that indweller, is getting into the stage of uttamavidāṃ, of the highest knowledge. And at such a moment, when the jivatman leaves the body, Lokan amalānpratipadyate. He attains the hereafter, he attains the realm, he attains the worlds which are spotless, which are nothing but purity, which are nothing but saintly, the holiest of the holy worlds that this Jivatman enters when the sattva is in predominance. So this is how determines the next phase of the Jivatman in this cycle of birth and death. Unless if there is a liberation, total liberation, there is no point at all. Then at the point of total liberation, at the point of total nirvana, all these gunas also are discarded. All the three gunas are discarded. Then the Jivatman goes beyond the grasp of the three gunas. But till the time that nirvana phase is not reached, till the time that ultimate enlightenment is not attained, what happens? When the Jivatman leaves the body, when the sattva is in dominance, then the Jivatman enters the realms, enters the worlds which are the purest of the pure. Because he has attained the full knowledge. He is carrying the highest knowledge with him, with her, with it. That is what happens at the time of sattva being dominant at the time of death. The thought uppermost in the mind at the time of departing from the body is the deciding factor for the next birth of this Jivatma. Whichever thought predominates. At the time of death, if we start thinking about the properties we have, about the ornaments we have, of the monies we have, then naturally the next birth we have to go and start the journey from that moment onwards. All the time worried about properties, all the time worried about my possessions. But at the time of death, if there is a thought of my Ishta, at the time of death, if there is a thought of my divine mother, my mother, then naturally the course of action for the Jivatman will be that on which the final thoughts are uppermost in the mind. Because of the prevalence of sattva at that juncture, the godly and pure thoughts are inevitable. Because sattva itself is associated with purity, with knowledge, with enlightenment. So when sattva is predominant, we will be only thinking about the Lord, about the Divine Mother, of the highest knowledge, of the Paramatman. We will be thinking about all that is purity, all that is enlightening. Therefore, and Brahmaloka is the highest among the regions obtained by the embodied. The highest deity known to them is the creator Brahma or the Hiranyagarbha. But this knowledge is not to be equated with Brahmajnana, which is the ultimate. So at the time of death, if somebody thinks of his Ishta, that doesn't mean that is an end of the cycle for that matter. That is not the end of our getting into this cycle of birth and death. Only thing is we will get a higher state, like entering into the Brahmaloka. Fine, but there also there is an end of our stay in the Brahmaloka, because Krishna had told us that at the end of the day of the Brahman, again we are going to get destroyed. We are again going to be drawn back into that Paramapurusha, and at the start of the Brahma's day, we are again going to come out. So that cycle continues then. Till the time we are finally in that mode of ultimate knowledge, that ultimate enlightenment of knowing Saha Aham Soham, Aham Brahmosmi. Till that time, this coming and going will continue. Only thing is, we may not get into the dire circumstances. We may not get into the most unfortunate circumstances that we have to suffer and suffer and suffer. We may enjoy heavenly pleasures, but again we have to come back. There is an end to that also. There is an end. There's a time frame. It might be millions and millions of years, but still there is an end to it. Even the stay in the Brahmaloka is an end. After those many number of years, there is an end. So, Sri Krishna says that when sattva is dominant, such a person with the tendency of the knowledge and enlightenment being the uppermost in the mind, with the thoughts of knowledge and enlightenment being uppermost in the mind, he will go to the best of the worlds hereafter, and he will go to the purest of the pure worlds. He may not get in a rotten place, for that matter. He will enjoy all the heavenly pleasures, he will enjoy all the celestial pleasures, but there is going to be an end to it too at one point of time, and again the journey starts. But at least there is this kind of a positive note to the soul, to the jivatman entering the hereafter. So this is what Sri Krishna has told us. Although that knowledge that Sri Krishna has told here, when sattva is in attendance, it is not the brahmajnana. It is a higher knowledge, no doubt. It is the knowledge about the hereafter, no doubt. There is some knowledge of Brahman, but it is not a brahmajnana. We have to get into those higher and higher and better worlds, stay there, have our waiting room, waiting period there, till the time we have to again come back. So that was Sri Krishna's introduction to this, what happens when the sattva is dominant at the time of death of a person. So next we will read what happens when rajas and tamas, they are dominant. That we will see during our next reading of the 15th shloka. Till then, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur Jai Ma. Jai Swamiji.